So we're ready to go live in 5, yeah?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Hi guys, and welcome to GeeK Talk, where we talk deep and geek about all things related to pianos, keyboards, synthesizers, and music production. And we've got my friend, our friend from the Facebook group, Mr. Tony Duncan. Tony, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Looking well. Actually, I forgot something. This is GeeK Talk. I need to... There we go. Oh dear, a bit frosty. How's things looking in Texas today, my friend?
I haven't been outside in 2 weeks.
You need to get out more.
Well, I had surgery on my foot, so.
Oh yes, of course.
Right. So I'm going around with a walker, so I haven't been outside.
But that kind of suits you because that means, you know, you're like the wife and stuff. You've got an excuse. You just have to remain in the studio now. Is that right?
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
Tony, it's so good to talk to you. And as I say, I feel I've known you for years. And to all the subscribers and people watching this, Tony is not a, well, we'd say he's not a well-known name, but he is what I call a rising star. And he's got one of the most outstanding work ethics I've come across. And he is a fellow geek. And you're
yes.
Your enthusiasm, and you know, you're just one of the star members of the, you know, of the Vaughn George group, and you've been there from the beginning. And I'm very happy to interview you today, have a chat. And
excellent. This
being GeeK Talk, I figured who better to talk to than Tony Duncan about the geek.
About the geek. All right.
So let's start off. As I say, this is not scripted or anything. We're just two friends in a room. You know my style.
Right.
Off-topic chicken and all that, ready to jump in every time we're. But let's start with you. So Tony, you're based in Texas?
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm an hour or so outside of Dallas.
Okay. So is that the quiet part? You're in a nice quiet part.
Yeah, I'm out in East Texas where there's not as many people, lots of trees. It's not as hot. It rains a lot. It's nice.
Yeah.
So.
Good. Okay, so let's just start with you. So how did you get into music production?
Ooh. Wow. Okay.
Well, you're 21 years old. It can't be that difficult.
Right. You know, early in life, you know, that really wanted to get me to make music was 1982, Duran's Rio.
Okay.
After Rio.
Okay.
Oh, synthesizer. What is this sound? What is this? And then, you know, then it grew to other bands. But that's what got me started really listening to that kind of music. Especially everything I ever listened to was from the UK. I just don't even like American rock all that much. Okay. A few things here and there, but one synthesizer. That just blew my mind.
Yeah.
You know, and then as time passed, you know, life happens and you know, that kind of thing. And then I've really gotten into it over the last 3 years where I've decided, hey, I'm going to dedicate myself to this. This is what I want to do. You know, so fiercely for the last 3 years, just trying to learn as much as I can every day.
It's interesting, you know, because there are all kinds of cliches and stuff, and people all have different ideas when they see people. But if you were to be walking down the road, and if someone said you were a music producer, they would probably assume rock, you know, and
right.
like ZZ Top and that kind of thing, you know.
Right.
You know what I mean? If
maybe
going by the cliches, and you know, me with my blonde hair, they probably think German techno. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but
traffic. Yes.
You've got a project called Astronaut, is that right?
Electronaut.
Oh, Electronaut.
Electronaut. So it's kind of a, you know, combination of words.
Okay. And you're working with fellow group
Mr.
Mr. Potts, yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
It's great. This has been so inspirational. So word out to my brother Marshall Potter.
Marshall.
It's been yeah. He's blown me away every time that I send him a song. He throws a vocal. It's just I'm just like, oh, this is expanding my music. It's really exciting for
So
me.
are you not really a lyricist? Are you more
Oh
music?
God.
Oh right. Okay.
more music and production than anything else. Lyricist, no. My voice is. I can do backup, lead. Nobody wants to hear that.
You know something, and I always talk about this channel. We talk about lead singers and stuff. I mean, Bernard Sumner is by no means a great singer. I mean, especially when you watch him live, it's and I'm not being disrespectful. It's just he's not what you would deem a great singer. But then again, all these great singers like Whitney Houston and stuff, I'm not a fan of people like that. It's
nah.
And I was talking to Tom Shear on here.
Yes.
And you and him, you do remind me a bit of him, and it's in a good way.
It's the hair.
It's the hair. It's the haircut, and also sort of your style is not a million miles apart. But as Tom Shear was also talking, he was also saying that I think like when you get prog rock, you can get to a point where you're so technical that you almost don't have any soul. It just becomes so. There's no sort of angst or rawness to it. You know what I mean? So anyway, so we're trying to remain on topic here. So let's say with the project you're working with Marshall, where does Marshall live?
He's in Florida.
He's in Florida. Okay. So
we're just bouncing stuff back and forth.
So how did you meet Marshall? Was it through the Vaughn George Facebook group?
Yeah, through your group. I had put it out there that I was looking for somebody to write lyrics, and if somebody could sing, even better.
Yeah.
Because I've got lyrics kind of here, but they come out, they get on paper, they don't jive. I guess they just sound funny to me. I look at it and go, oh, no. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll take care of the music part.
Yeah.
Not all of it. Marshall does a lot of it too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I thought I'll do most of the music part, and I'll have somebody else that knows what they're doing until I can get comfortable enough to where I can maybe start doing some of my own. But I like it this way. I think it's a good deal.
Better to focus on what you're best. I mean, even the great it was quite funny. There was an article that for Octave, they're a music distribution company, and they just did an interview on me, and I want to actually. I put the article up, but what I loved was Sean McCauley, who did the interview. I've known him for a long time, and he put a picture of Alan Wilder. There's the patron saint Alan Wilder. Who's like the patron saint of the group.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is, even the great Alan Wilder, as we call him, he said he can't write lyrics, or he prefers not to. So there's. I always find it's like. If you find what you're most comfortable in, and you find someone that that you can bounce ideas off. So what I'm saying is, do you think you and Marshall are going to work more exclusively together?
I think so.
More, yeah.
I think so. We're working on the fourth song now. And this is gonna be good. It's gonna be better than the other ones, because there's some of the previous ones were already demos. Yeah. Some of the first three were really kind of demos that I had already had, and I'd given to him, and then we'd added. This is straight up from the ground up. This is going to be really cool, and I'm excited working with him. It gives me a lot of energy.
That's good, and I suppose if you're working with someone, as you say, if you say you're not a lyricist, it's quite nice when someone can take that away from you, and you can just focus on what you really like doing most.
Right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Because Tony, let's face it. I think Ash, one of my moderators, Ash.
Sure.
We were talking. I do want to start a thing on the Vaughn George Facebook group called GeeK of the Week. But then Ash shot and he said, "Did you know that it's going to be Tony every week?"
I saw that. I did say that. He's the only one who put synthesizers. Somebody's got to do it.
That's right. So let's. I mean, I'm looking at you. You're like a kid in Disneyland. You're loving it. Let's start.
I do.
I see. Just me being an observant. I see you've got a couple of HS80Ms Yamahas there. Is that right?
Oh yes, I love them.
They are very flat response. Those, and it was interesting. I had a pair once, and I bought them to replace my NS10s, but they're completely different. They're a completely different thing. I personally like them. They're a very flat monitor. We're not endorsing product here, by the way, guys. We're just talking what we like.
Right.
Okay, so run through some. You've got an Alesis Ion above you at the top.
Oh no, that's the Micron, the smaller version.
Yes, that's right. I used to have one of those too.
Right, and I've got
Yeah.
on top of that the JDXI down below it. I know it's hard to see because everything's up.
No, that's fine. Tony, what I'm going to ask is I'm going to ask you to send me some photos afterwards.
Okay.
And I'm going to put links below in the description for everyone to see what you're doing. So let me just try and keep this focused for my own off-topic brain here. Let's run through some of the gear you've got.
Okay.
Yeah, just run through anything that you have there.
Okay, so back behind the camera, I've got the Behringer DeepMind 12.
Oh, the DeepMind. Yes. How is that?
Yes.
Tell us how that is. Does it live up to expectations?
It's tinty. It's very tinty.
Okay.
It's got some great sounds, but you really got to crank it. You got to get the volume up on it.
Right.
But it's tinty. I don't know how else to explain it. It's missing something.
Is it distinctive sounding?
It is. It definitely is. I use it when I'm doing when I do the live stuff, the live Facebook stuff on my page. I use it quite a bit because I can stand up, play. I get good camera angles off of it. And down below that is the Ion, a monster. The thing weighs a ton.
The Alesis Ion, and you've got the Micron behind you, and the Micron is a stripped down version, which is basically exactly the same sound engine, just with
same engine.
Yeah, here. And the sound on that, Tony, is so fat.
Oh, big time.
Because this was kind of like a predecessor to the Andromeda.
Right.
So was kind of I believe the initial. Because it was one of the very first sort of like digital analog synth, so to speak.
Right.
It does a lot of sounds. It does sound like an analog synth, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It does. I like to play it. The menu diving's a little bit weird.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That kind. It's really strange, but it sounds fantastic.
It's fantastic. And you've obviously got a lot of gear, and I'm going to show put links to the below for everyone to see. Are you more of a hardware kind of guy, or your plugins as well, or both? Digital, analog?
Both.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, I love digital synths. I love analog synths. I only have one true analog, and that's the Base Station 2.
Okay, yeah.
Everything else is either a hybrid or all digital. I'm working in the box now more so, especially with the leg, because I can't get up and stand around.
I see.
Because I'm trying to learn more of that.
Yeah.
But before I use iPad for everything.
Sure.
I use an iOS for everything, which is there's two schools of thought on this. Some say it's really great. Some say it's really bad. I like to use whatever tool is best for the job.
Correct.
So if I like using the iPad for one particular thing, then I'm going to use it. I don't get into that debate about analog, digital, blah 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 blah. No. Yeah, I can't stand that. Yeah, I want to do what sounds good.
Yeah, and that's what like our friend Tom Shear said. The same thing was, you use what needs to be done. And obviously with experience, what type of synthesizers do what type of sounds. It's interesting just now, Tony, on the Behringer stuff now. Many years ago, this must have been back in the 2000, 2001. I used to work in a music retail store called Turnkey. And that was the biggest in Europe at the time. And this was in the good old days where you could still sell records. And I remember at that time, the word Behringer was a swear word.
Oh, yes.
They were a new company. Their stuff used to fail all the time. And you almost didn't want to sell Behringer products to people because you knew they were going to bring them back and they were going to break. But however, I think Behringer, and once again, this is not an endorsement, that was a company that had its growing pains. And I really feel they have really, because Behringer's, I think what they were trying to do, they were trying to reverse engineer things like if you took like Mackie did like the Onyx discs, and then they would do like a Xenix. So they were trying to do affordable versions of expensive
Right.
things, like we see now with the synthesizers, where they're doing like an affordable SH-101.
Right,
So,
they're doing that. The Wasp. What else are they doing? The Mini Moog. The Model D.
and you've
They've done all those.
yes, so I think Behringer have come a long way, and I think people are starting to take them seriously now. But in your opinion, do you still feel they're not quite there as far as, if we take their emulation of a 101, it's not a 101, is it? How close is it?
It's hard for me to judge because I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
To really play and look at it. It looks like one. I presume it sounds like one too.
Okay.
I can only speak for really the stuff that I've had my hands on.
Oh, that's what I mean. I mean, the stuff that you've actually had your hands on.
Right.
How would you compare that to?
I like the Model D because it sounds like a Mini Moog.
Oh,
I've messed around with it.
Okay. That's very impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really small. It's not very big. I mean, it's only, that big. I hear, because I'm in different groups, synth groups on Facebook, and you hear people on one side, I don't like it. Yes, it's great. I don't.
Yeah.
There's the debate back and forth. I think they've gotten something. What I do like is the fact that if somebody's just getting into synthesis, like I saw on your interview, there was that guy that said he was 50 and he went and bought a synthesizer and all that. When you're first getting into something and you want something cool, that's affordable, that's why I think that they've done a great job at doing.
I see.
Yeah.
No, that's now, as I said, they've definitely sort of found their place in the market now, and I wish them all the best. But now let's talk. There's so much we can talk about, Tony. But what sort of is your, like? Do you have like a go-to synthesizer you sort of always go to?
Ooh.
Well, now that you can't move much.
Oh. I find myself lately on the VST stuff and the plugin stuff. I'm using the Roland Cloud. The Juno 106 and both of the System 1, System 8. I'm really gravitating towards those.
Yeah.
When I'm, just working straight up on the computer.
Sure.
Man, it's hard to say. I really like playing the Mini Nova, the Novation Mini Nova, because it's you can manipulate so much sound on this just by pressing a button.
Sure. Now, Tony, I must say, what's impressed me about you is, and I coach people and everything, and I'll just tell you, I'm facing my own demons at the moment because when you coach people, you're giving them advice. But
right.
I think what people like about me, if I may say, is that I'm real. I'm honest. I am flawed, and I don't pretend to be perfect. And a classic example is I'm working on my album at the moment, and I just gave the vocals, the song to my mix engineer, Sean Kennedy, and I'm working with a mix engineer. I usually mix my own stuff, but I'm sort of, because, Tony, I've gotten to a point that if I don't use a mix engineer, I'm just not going to finish it. I will tweak it forever. So I'm going to work with Sean Kennedy. He's, I also met him through the group, and he's a very, very, very talented guy. And he kind of had a go at me. He's like, Vaughn, where are these mixes? And when I sent him a song, he said, Vaughn, you're singing it. You're singing. He said you're singing well, but you don't mean it. And it's really good to have someone hold you accountable to that.
Right.
So the point I'm trying to make is, as much as people look to me for advice, I was amazed with your work that came out. You put a track out, and then you went, there's another one coming out, there's another thing. So what I guess I'm asking you, Tony, is you seem to have found a way to edit yourself and to sort of like honor deadlines. And could you sort of explain what your process is?
Well, it's kind of like what you just said. It's like when I'm going to send a track to Marshall, I want to send him the best that I've got for that particular time. Sure. I don't want to I don't want to embarrass myself and send him crap, because I'm not, Sure. I want to send him the best that I've got.
Sure.
So it just motivates you to go, to move forward.
Yeah.
The music's not going to write itself.
No, of course not.
Not unless you're Brian Eno and you make an app and it generates, But I'm not Brian Eno, so it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So, it's just, honestly, it has everything to do with my sobriety.
That is definitely something we're going to talk about. There's a big subject I want to bring up sort of later on in the interview is the sobriety of synthesizers. Because if I can just sort of say to anyone watching this channel, guys watching this channel, Tony is he's the kind of person I just love having on this channel. He's not only sincere, he's talented, but he's also doing great things for the community. And I think actually, Tony, while we're on that, let's talk about the sobriety of synthesizer while we're onto that. How did it start? Where are you with it, and what's your schedule? And
okay, so it started off where I started joining when I was talking earlier about how I wanted to get really serious into this. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to try Facebook. The group thing had just started.
Okay.
Groups hadn't been around that long, so we're talking 3 years ish.
Sure. Yeah.
Give or take. And I've joined these groups, and I would ask a question that I didn't know an answer to in the group, in a group setting, and you would get back negative. You get back, people just mocking you and giving you a hard time, and you get one honest answer out of somebody. And I thought this is not a way we should act as a community.
I got you.
We all love synth music. We all love electronic music. Why does it have to be this way? It doesn't.
No.
So I thought, what's my niche?
Yeah.
Where do I fit in this? This is what I know. I know I love synthesizers, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with their own sobriety. And don't take me the wrong way. I'm not a preacher. People are going to do what they do.
All got our addictions and stuff,
right?
And our addictions and stuff, yeah.
But there's some of us that can handle it, and there's some of us that can't. And I know that I'm the one that cannot.
Sure.
So there's my in right there. We can talk about the things we love, yet we can help each other without all the negativity and all the BS that goes with some of those bigger synth groups. I mean, that's basically how it happened. So if anybody out there that's struggling, look me up.
Yes, guys, to my community out there and to anyone watching the channel, as I say, and Tony, can I just say, this is the first, but certainly not the last time we're going to have you on. I really want to see you grow and develop, because your heart's in the right place. And as I say, I don't want to get, I'm spiritual, but I'm not sort of religious, but I still believe, if you're putting heart and sincerity into something has got to come back. And what I've always found about you is you've got that heart and that sincerity, and that is so well illustrated in the sobriety of synthesizers, because is that really, in a layman's terms, like put down that drink and make a tune, Synthesizers, it's you sit down and you make music instead of having a drink.
That's what drives me. That's what keeps me clean. It's an addiction thing. It's not necessarily a drink. It could be whatever.
Any addiction.
Right. Any addiction. Yeah. But if you take that energy that's there, and if you're an addict, you know what I'm talking about. Sure. There's that. I've got to have this. I've got to have it now. It's I can't stop thinking about it. And I take that. You take that, and you put it into your music, something positive. And you take that and you put it into helping others, something positive. There's where the energy is.
That's amazing, Tony. So how many members do you have on?
See, I get excited.
No, that's what I love about you. You're like a child, and I mean that I'm like a child. When you talk to people, what they're passionate about, they become children, and that's wonderful. Yeah. So how many members are in the sobriety group? Of course.
I think we're just over 900.
900. That is fantastic. And we're going
920, something like that.
Yeah. And as I say, you spend a lot of time in the Vaughn George group. I often think you're spending more time. I do. And I don't mean that because I'm spending less and less time there now. But I love having people like you, because I've just my attention is on so many other things, but I just love it. And I do sort of open the page at least once a day, and I love it when I open it and I go, oh, there's Lloyd again, there's Ash, oh, there's Tony, and I wish I could get you all. I wish I was so rich, and I could just get you all together, and we could all have like a big GeeK.
Oh, man, I would love to come to London.
Have you ever been to
the UK? I've never been.
I've never been to America either. So no, never say never, Tony.
That's true.
Never say never. So with the sobriety of synthesizers, I see you also do a live stream. How often do you do that?
Okay, in that group, we do that once a month.
Okay.
So this is where that I know that this is working. There's a group of guys I'd like to give a shout out to too. It's the gas station folks. They'll know who they are.
The gas station folks, gotcha.
Yeah. We call it the gas. Everybody uses that term when they're jonesing for some gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once a month, we all get together and we play live. We take turns going down, and that has been huge for people. Not just myself.
Sure.
It's that push. Hey, I've got to do this, and I'm going to go live in front of all these people in this show, and there's support and there's help, and but it pushes people to become better. I know some guys that weren't doing any music until after this. Now this wasn't my whole deal. There's another guy who wants to remain anonymous. I'd love to give him a shout out because he's a fantastic musician.
Understand, yeah.
But this was kind of his idea initially. Okay, it was our idea together, but I don't explain it. But so yeah, there were people who weren't producing music at all that said, "Hey, I'm going to get in the show," and now they're back to making their music again.
Well, I applaud you, Tony. You've obviously started this, and you're inspiring people to do this. And of course, with the group as well, as you say, people do often wish to remain anonymous.
Yeah,
obviously, and it's like and for you as a leader, as the leader of this group, as they always say with addictions, one of the first steps is admitting it, as you say.
Correct.
And but for you to actually come out there and go, I'm going to front this, it's very brave, because
right.
Actually, Tony, having said that, because I think some people are worried about being judged and stuff. I think society these days is generally less judgmental. Do you think I'm right in saying that? We see.
I think in a case like this, yes.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right now in the States, politics has divided this country, but I don't want to go into that. But
absolutely.
But yeah, I think there's more awareness about different things, not just, addiction, there's a million other things too.
Sure.
But I think they're more open than probably so in the past. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. No, you've absolutely answered my question there now. So, Tony, because so what is your dream? What is your big picture? If you could fast forward to 5 years and everything was going your way, what would that look like for you?
It would look like not having to work for the man ever again, and just doing what I love. Just making music. Yeah, that would be it.
This is the big struggle we have these days as artists. And I did see this sort of, as I said, when I worked in Turnkey, which is the music retail store in London back in 2000. That is when digital sort of really started veering its, I don't want to say its ugly head, but the digital has given us wonderful ways of working. It's also made technology accessible to most of us, which I suppose brings more competition. But at the same time, digital has meant that, why should I buy an MP3 when I can download it for free?
Right.
So this is the time. And, the industry is not, some people say it's broken. I think people just need to think in more creative ways. And I think what you're doing here is, Tony, I mean, we're going to have a chat off camera. I hate to preach to people, and it's also when I'm coaching people as well. Very often I say, what do you think you should do? And then they answer you. They know what they need to do. And at the end, they go, oh, thank you, you helped me a lot. But then I'm thinking, I didn't say anything.
You knew the answer yourself.
Intuitively know what you need to do. But sometimes it's just nice to have someone listen to you and have that reaffirmed back to you. But I just think, what you're doing there, through the sobriety of synthesizers, and I think it's always, and it's a little bit of a dirty word, it's trying to monetize what you're doing. But I must say and it's kind of like, I don't want to make this interview about me. I've recently started my Patreon. I haven't launched it yet, but a few of you hardcore ones like have gone in and sort of pledged, and I'm so grateful to you for that already. But what I'm saying to you, Tony, is I think we have to understand that as creators, musicians, that we are providing a value, and what you're doing is you're definitely providing a value, and that value has a value to it in a monetary way. And we're going to talk about this off camera. Coming back to the whole thing is, it's the struggle of the artist, and I see this so many times. And this is why, when I've interviewed Rusty Egan, I want to get him back on again, because when I interviewed him, he didn't stop talking.
No, he didn't.
And I thought, how am I going to edit this? And eventually, luckily, Tony, I just thought I can't compete this. It's like the saying, it's like farting against thunder. I just sat and listened to him, and I thought, okay, I'll deal with the edit later. But that turned out to be the right thing, because people were very interested in his story. But coming back to the relevance I'm trying to make with you now is, I think people these days can see through a lot of the bullshit. The sort of, like the American Idol or the X Factor and all that. 20 years ago, there were all the talent contests. And the talent contests, I remember they were terrible. They'd be like, you've got to be 26 years old. That's the maximum. And then you get these people that were like in their 40s and 50s trying to pretend they were 26. But the great thing of these days is that people, and I find this in my channel as well, and in my Facebook group, I've got members as young as 14 years old. People are awake now. They can see through the bullshit. They don't care what you look like, as long as your message is sincere and your songs are good. And this is what I always try to resonate with people. Is screw. I've got people now who often reach out to me and say thank you. They, one guy said to me, he said, my wife hates you because they so much gear. But it's just, I just want to say to, and you, Tony, are these sort of like, you're like me to the model of people that I'm trying to. Let's face it, Tony. A lot of people my age and your age have given up, haven't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is so nice to see, people just saying, "Fuck it, I'm going to do this," and this is what.
Yeah.
And it's spilling over, because I see your traffic's going up, and but you're doing it for the right reasons.
Right. I do it because I love it, and I do it because maybe somebody out there else will love it, even if it's just one person. It's the same way with the sobriety thing. If I'm helping one person, then that makes me happy, and that pushes me forward.
Tony, as I say, we're talking quite seriously now, and that's great. I always find my best friends are people who can alternate between talking really silly and being really silly, like talking silly, but they can also talk really deeply. And you're one of those people. I was just trying to say how it's good to see. There's this belief, especially in the music industry, there's this belief that if you get to a certain age, you've got to just stop doing it. It was like a young person. But okay, something I would say is the reality I see with, and I don't mean to be condescending towards younger people, but let's take artists let's take Billy Joel, just to be random. Okay, he cannot sing as high as he used to. His voice is finished. But what he has developed is like a gravitas and it's like a, it's like it's stewed in himself. He's found himself, but what life experience have you got when you're 17 years old? I mean, let's not be condescending here.
Right. And
and this was, to me, was always the big dilemma about the pop music industry. It was like, okay, you got to be 22-year-old pop star. But then it's like, and a lot of pop stars that have been around, like if you look at like Duran and those, some of their best materials came late. The best material came later on because they'd matured and they had life experience. And it's just that, I don't know. I'm kind of ranting on you. I think just about, but I'm glad the way the industry is changing. I think it's changed for the better in that way. And I'm not trying to flatter you, or as they say in England, blow smoke up your ass kind of thing.
Right. We say that here too.
But no, it as I say, it just is really inspiring to see people, and I think this is a great thing about the sort of the YouTube generation, is you don't need a censor, you don't need to go through a gatekeeper, you can just do what you want.
Right. You're talking about earlier about the the digital thing. It's and you and I've had this conversation. It's the two-edged sword. The one hand is a music lover. It's great. I got every Depeche Mode album like this, and it only cost me $10.
Yeah, I know.
And then for the artist, it's make a dime. I'm not in it for the money, honestly. At this point in my. But for the artists that are this is how they make their living, making nothing. The only way to make any kind of music money in the music business is to go on tour, sell merchandise, or you make samples. You have a YouTube channel, or you make sample packs. Sound design. That's the way you're going to make money in the music business.
It is
at this point.
It is, and I did that video recently or a while ago about streaming, and so someone always this was the dilemma. It's like, what does a song cost? So you've got songs out on iTunes and all kinds of places. Sure. So someone might say to you, Tony, your song costs 99 cents.
Sure.
You would not walk into a shop and say, I'm not going to pay 99 cents for a Snickers bar. You'd pay it. But what I'm trying to say is, people, I think it's just the way people expect to get, especially the younger generations now, they expect that music is for free and it's for granted. It has no value in that. But also you must understand, this is what I always try to say to people is, with the advertising agencies and stuff, they need product. And if they need your product, then your product has value.
Sure. Music and television, and movies, get your music in that. That's there's another way of making
absolutely
money in the music business.
Have you submitted to anything like that? Is that something you?
I have not.
Yeah,
I haven't. No, I might. I don't know. I haven't. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Because so for you at the moment, and yes, a good question is, when you sit down to do music, do you sort of think, where's this going, or do you just kind of sit down and something takes over and you just do it?
It depends, I guess. It depends. Some days it's flowing, some days it's not. Some days you really got to push it. Yeah, I got to push through this, otherwise I'm just not going to do it. It just depends on what I'm doing. Like with the stuff I've been doing with Marshall, it's been flowing really, really well. I've been doing this kind of lo-fi stuff on my own. It's been a little bit, that's been a challenge, even though it's more simplistic in nature. Yeah, it's different. I wanted to try a different genre just to push myself to see what I could come up with. So it just kind of depends on what I'm doing.
You say Duran Duran got you to music, was that right?
Pretty much got me into that. Was into here in the States, that wasn't, I don't know if that wasn't even considered pop, because it was an import. It was from somewhere else. You did hear them on the radio quite a bit.
Yeah.
As they got bigger, probably closer to like 84.
Sure.
85, you started hearing them on the radio. Same with Depeche. I mean, 83, you didn't hear anything until People Are People came out. Nothing on the radio, unless it was like a college radio.
Yeah.
So that was all underground, and that's what I gravitated towards, because I knew I wasn't like all the regular kids that listened to, I don't know,
American rock and that kind of.
Yeah. I always felt different in that nature. I never gravitated towards that. It was always this sound that's coming from the UK. And from Europe. That's what I really, it is that way today almost. Yeah.
I always found like UK has always been very innovative. If you think of, in Germany, it also, and that is why when I heard, for instance, Tom Shear from Assemblage 23's music the first time, I thought to myself, and the first thing I Googled up and I expected to say, Assemblage 23 are a German, blah, blah, blah. And it actually said, Tom Shear is from Seattle.
American.
This is American? And I interview this guy because he is so not American.
Right. So there's guys that, like, of our age, because I'm pretty sure I'm close to Tom's age.
Yeah, you're about to say
that have taken that influence from those bands. from The Cure to The Mission, and then we start getting into like we start getting into a little bit like more electronic, like a Clan of Zymox, which is a great combination of synthesized music and real, classic instruments, guitar and stuff. If guys have never listened to Clan of Zymox, you need to. Fantastic kind of goth band. But it started pulling in those, into, for me, and I pulled from the industrial side too, because I love industrial music. Skinny Puppy is probably one of my favorite all-time bands.
Yeah,
They're different, it's different, but Kevin Key of Skinny Puppy, and I know I'm going off topic too, but I have to say that. I have to say this is the most creative synthesizer guy that there ever has been.
right.
If you go dig deep into listening to the sounds that he's done, all by hand, it's amazing. Amazing. But I pull from Frontline Assembly, so these are all like Canadian bands too.
Sure.
But I pull a little bit from Kraftwerk, not a lot, but I listen to them. So my influence is that industrial side, and then that synth pop, So I got somewhere in that range.
Well, because people are always asking me to talk about Skinny Puppy, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not familiar on them that much. I mean, I know of them, but I just and another one that people always ask me to talk about is, and people are going to probably unsubscribe for me for saying this. I'm not a huge 9 Inch Nails fan.
No, neither am I.
I like, and they always, I can hear how Gary Newman was influenced by them, but then of course Gary Newman influenced them as well. But I just find, and I haven't listened to it enough, but to me it's not melodic enough. I love melody, and but then again, I haven't listened to it enough. But I do need to. I know Skinny Puppy is something I do need to commit to listen to and do some videos on, because people have really said. What is there anything? Okay, so you give me a recommendation: Skinny Puppy, and what else should I be listening to?
If you want to get industrial, Frontline Assembly is really good. There's this band, and I don't know where they're from. I'll have to look that up. It's a band called Dead When I Found Her.
Okay, yeah. I think you did post links to this before.
I did. Yeah. Their No More Nightmares album is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the production of this album is so good. The sound quality is so good. And it blows my mind every time I listen to it.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the best albums, I think, of the last decade, for me at least.
Dead When I Found Her. And once again, these are acts that most people never heard of and never will. This is what Rusty Eagle ranting on about in the last interviews, that there are some bands out there that have been around for 30 years. They've got such a hardcore following that people have got their names tattooed, there's bands on their arms, but no one knows of them because everyone's listening to Taylor Swift.
Oh God, no.
One of your fellow countrymen, and it was an American subscriber of mine. He was a lot of them sort of reach out to me through email or stuff, and one of them, I never forget what he said. He said, same as you. He said, as an American, he said I was weird because I like the UK sound. He said all we have in America, he said, was it country music and hip hop clones?
Yeah.
What he said. Actually, while we're talking a bit randomly here, what did you think of the nominees for the 2020 Hall of Fame?
Got Depeche.
Depeche, About Time. Right. 9 Inch Nails, okay, so I'm not a huge fan, but I can see why. Yeah.
On the 9 Inch Nails thing, and to interject real quick, he took all his inspiration from Skinny Puppy and made it so it was palatable, I guess is the word, for the general audience. So
I see.
I want to say that.
Yeah. Okay, that's well said.
Who else is in that group? I didn't read because I just kept voting for Depeche Mode.
I tell you what, I've had a few people being emailing me, and some people are bitching and moaning, and I do actually agree. They said that they disagree with Notorious B.I.G. and Whitney Houston, and I can see why they chose them. And although because purely based on the music style. I mean, Whitney Houston, it's not rock and roll. B.I.G. is hip hop. So, I think if you're going to have a rock and roll, if you're going to have a Hall of Fame for hip hop, that's fine. But I think where the crossover comes is because Whitney Houston, she was a massive star. I'm not a fan.
I'm not either. She's got a great voice, though. She can sing.
Absolutely. But then again, I like people like New Order, and we know Bernard Summer's not a great singer, but you and I are more about the sound as a package. We don't.
Sure.
I'm not fans of people like Adele and stuff.
Nah.
I acknowledge the fact that they're great artists, but I'm, anyway, we're on the same page. But I think like also Notorious B.I.G. and someone was saying on YouTube the other day, he can see that this induction ceremony is probably going to be one huge kind of like tribute to Whitney Houston and Notorious B.I.G. because they're not around anymore.
Because they're not around.
Exactly.
Right.
So and the criticisms that I've heard and I can agree with is the fact that they were great artists, but it's not really rock and roll, is it?
No.
Yeah. It's road, but it is more rock than what they were. So what are your feelings on that?
Yeah, I mean that Whitney Houston's definitely not rock. I mean that's pop and soul and exactly. Whatever you want to classify her as. And Notorious B.I.G. How long was that guy around? Why is he even going to go in?
Exactly, and I agreed with that. It's just it's hip hop, and it's almost like putting a rock artist in the hip hop thing. They wouldn't really allow. I don't know. I mean, those only nominees I didn't really agree with.
I get if we want to put the Temptations, which I think they're in, but
yes.
I get that because that's early rock and roll, and that's what it was.
Yes, absolutely.
So Notorious B.I.G. is not really rock and roll, and there's a lot of artists out there that's that's hip hop or R&B, however you want to call it.
Yeah. Couldn't be further removed actually. So no, that's something I agree with as well. Tony, is there anything else you want to tell me that you're up to at the moment? Are you trying to
think
day or what?
What's that? I'm sorry, you cut out.
I'll say, what's your schedule at the moment? You trying to get out like a song a week, or what are your goals for the next?
I want to get Marshall and I's song done probably within the week, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got nothing to do, but I'm here at the house, so I'm just constantly working on it, trying to get it back to him. We talked about doing an album.
Yes.
Like a full album. So that may be in the works. Probably what I'll do is I'll be writing demos, sending that to him. He goes, "Oh yeah, I can do this. This is cool," and then we'll go from there. Really, that's it. And just pushing that project. I might be doing some of my own stuff, but I'm just not feeling it. I'm feeling this collaboration with him is it's really pushed me.
Well, go with that inspiration.
Yeah.
Just to ask you there, Tony, you say you're going to do an album. So how many songs would be on an album?
If it were, since it's a duo thing, we'd have to sort that out. But to me, that's 10 to 12.
Yeah. I just, as I say, because something I'm always kind of advocating at the moment, and I don't want to tell you how to work or what to do, but I would say, look, some people go, should we do albums, singles, or EPs? And I go, okay, singles are fine, but I think the way forward now is an EP. And a modern EP being 5 to 7 songs, it keeps it focused,
right?
And it keeps it quicker. Because what happens is you'll find when you working on 7 songs, you tend to edit yourself more. You know that these songs have to be outstanding. Now, once you stretch it to about 10 or 12, no matter how good the songs are, the album's always, most of the album, a lot of them will be album tracks or some of them, but there will always be 4 or 5 outstanding songs. So I always find the best personal experience is to do an EP, which is 5 to 7 songs, and then just keep that focused. And then rather do, I would say, an EP every 6 months as opposed to doing an album a year. It improves your output.
Sure.
And this is just my personal experience based on the way. And also, you'll find these days people don't sort of have the the
They
concentration
don't have
span.
they don't have the patience for it.
Because these days, remember, you and I come from the day where we put on a record and you listen to it. Whereas
This
these
is the
days,
whole record.
and I hate these playlists, Tony, where you've got a song from there and a song from there. No. Where's the continuity? Where's the flow?
Right.
So I just think this is something we should talk about on the channel. Is I think, and just consider what I'm saying now. If you and Marshall were to do a EP, do 5 to 7 songs, get it out, and then bang, and in 6 months' time do another one, and then
Do another one.
and it'll have much more impact rather than because 12 songs and because you're not an established artist, and I don't mean disrespect.
No.
I'm not either. I've got my following with Vaughn and everything, but I wouldn't put out an album anymore now. And in fact, my album that's coming out now is going to be a 7-track EP. So something to consider.
How long are we looking at that?
Well,
I'm going to put you on the spot now.
I just want to actually say to the guys watching this, Mr. Tony Duncan here has been nominated as a contributor to you adding a remix to the album. I'm going to do an album, and then I'm going to get you to remix one of the songs, and then that'll be released on my Agro Monkey Records label. And I'm very excited to. Remixes are quite fun, actually.
Yeah.
This is where Tom Shear and I went back because he did a remix for Combi Christ, and I also did a remix for Combi Christ on the same.
Right.
And what's nice about and what I tend to do is when I do remixes, I don't know what you like, Tony. I get all the stems, and I usually take the vocals, and I just bin the rest, and I build it up from scratch. And there's this lovely thing about remixing is where you can just start from scratch and be very creative.
Ooh. I think for me it would depend on what kind of mood I'm in, because sometimes I like some of the later Depeche remixes I didn't care for.
No, you're
but
right.
when you like Strange Love and all those, that era remixes are great because it's still true to the song.
Oh, sure.
Just like, but it's been extended or, remixed out. Some of the other later ones, what's the one? Maybe it's Only When I Lose Myself. There's a remix on there I just can't stand listening to because it's nothing like the thing. It's like a little shot of David and that's it.
It's because there's too much dance music coming into it now. And this is the criticism I have of Pet Shop Boys at the moment is their records now, it's just like dance music. It's like, I used to produce dance music many years ago, but I just don't have the ears for it anymore.
That doesn't interest me.
Yeah, and the word, and actually, Tony, the word remix to me is a word I use with care because it always conjures up images of remixed by DJ Silly Bollocks 776. It's just it's like remixed by this, but then you get great remixed artists like, even like Alex Fernandez, who's he's a outstanding remixer. He's remixed some of Alan Wilder's stuff, and he's
cool.
He's said he's going to contribute to a remix, but he's asked the same question. So Vaughn, when's you bring the album, then we'll do a remix. But I'm very happy to have you on that, Tony. And as I say,
I'm ready.
Just say to the community, that's not me being a nice guy. It's just because you're bloody good at what you do, and I respect you as an artist. You're really, really good. Tony, I'm going to have to end this now because I just think for you and I, we could talk forever.
Probably.
But I think we've got to understand 55? That. I think how long we got on for now? An hour?
55? Almost an hour. Mm-hmm.
I know that's great, but I've really enjoyed that. It feels like time has just flown. But before we go, Tony, can you just tell us any sort of social media links people can see you? Do you have a website, or is it just? We'll start with. Let's go and throw you on the spot there. You threw me on the spot. I'm going to throw.
You did. Yeah, I did. Now I'm getting it back. I don't have a website. I'm currently in the process of making a website. Okay, so that's one of those things I kind of put toward the back burner. You can find. I go by for my own personal music is the False Flag Document.
The False Flag Document. Okay.
You can find me on iTunes, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, all that. And then Electronaut is what we're using for
Marshall.
For Marshall and I stuff, and it's all the same places. Amazon, Bandcamp, the Spotify. We're all over all those. So
and there is something, and then of course there's the Sobriety of Synthesizers, which is a Facebook group. You just go and you type in Sobriety of Synthesizers. Tony, I will leave links to the description for all that as well. And there is something that I've got a real keen interest in at the moment. Well, keen's probably not the word, but
right.
and you know, it's a bit somber, but it's the reality of male suicide. And now, I don't want to go on too much about this, but I've had, you know, obviously not mentioning names, but and it's touching to me when I get people email me and they say, you know, I don't like to say this because it sounds like I'm just making up, but the God's honest truth, I've had some people saying that my channel has saved their life. And there's,
Sure.
you know, and that's always quite like when people say that, you're almost like, I don't know how to respond to that. I'm grateful, but it's like, it's a hell of a thing for someone. You feel the responsibility when someone
Sure.
says. So, you know, there is definitely something that I've become interested in, and this is why you and I the conversation in the beginning, Tony, when you first reached out to me with the Sobriety of Synthesizers, because it's not far from my interest in the you know, the male suicide thing, and I think it builds into these cliches where men can't show emotion, and you know, need. And we do now have an epidemic of men over 30 because they just feel they can't show their emotions, they can't reach out. And if you're feeling like that, anyone, you talk to me and you talk to Tony.
Please. I'm always around.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, I sleep for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Every other time I'm around, I may be at work, but I'm always willing to help somebody.
Yeah.
Even if it is a suicide thing or a drugs and alcohol problem. Makes no difference.
Tony, my brother, I think we're going to leave it on that really heartfelt note.
Good.
You're an absolute legend. You're an inspiration, and I'm so happy to be able to call you a friend, have you on this channel.
Thank you.
And I look forward to interviewing you again. And
Brilliant.
I've got no doubt we're going to have some nice geek talk in the Vaughn George.
Hey, geek talk. I love it.
All right, my brother, I'm going to hang up now.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm sure one of us would have. We both recorded it, so
yeah.
This broadcast will come out soon. So lots of love to you, and I'll catch you soon.
Okay, Vaughn. Thank you very much.
I
enjoyed it.
Pleasure. Take care, John.
Right,
God bless you.
Okay.
Bye bye.